For a few days every May, the world sees horse racing as a glamorous parade of pampered animals, happy and healthy, on their toes and on the muscle. And when they run, the crowds that gather for those few days roar. The crowds come to parties later at Saratoga and Del Mar and Keeneland. The best of times in the best of horses' lives, each like a child raised in the suburbs by caring parents, wanting for nothing. But unlike a child, a horse never has a voice in its own destiny. It will always be dependent. And since the majority of its life remains after the ability to win races is gone, a horse's destiny depends mostly upon the conscience of its owner. Six days after the pageantry of the Kentucky Derby, a trailer is unloaded at the livestock auction in Sugar Creek, Ohio. Among the horses on that trailer, thoroughbreds, shoed into pens to join ponies and mules and donkeys and burros to await their moment in the auction arena, to be sold to people whose intentions won't be questioned. A fork in the road that could lead to the end of the line. 300 miles away, another world, Lexington's lush 1,200-acre Kentucky horse park, a monument to everything humans have done right for thoroughbreds. Drive through it and you'll reach this fork in the road.
Secretariat Center.
Everybody's in line, and they're off. Looks like the early lead goes to My Gallant. Yes, My Gallant going for the lead with Price and Prince on the outside. Secretariat away very well, has good position on the rail.
Secretariat won the Triple Crown in 1973, capping it with a legendary 31-length victory in the Belmont Stakes.
They're on the turn, and Secretariat is blazing along. The first 3/4 of a mile in 109 and 4/5. Secretariat is widening now. He is moving like a tremendous machine.
But the Secretariat Center is no museum. It isn't about Secretariat at all. It's about the fork in the road, the one that thousands of racehorses reach every year when their careers on the track end. And it's about people with a conscience.
I mean, this horse here, he's 4 years old. And, 5? Okay, he's 5 years old.
Susanna Thomas came to the Secretariat Center as a volunteer in 2007. By 2010, she was executive director.
So we like to keep track of the horses' ages, their height, the date of their last race, when they came here, and then we try to update with farrier, dental, chiropractic, vaccines, and worming.
Thomas has authored what is widely considered the gold standard program for off-track thoroughbred reschooling.
I looked at what had happened in the 3 years that I had been here, and they had turnover of directors, but more importantly, they had a lot of horses that were being returned. And I kind of said, well, why are they being returned? And what I realized was these horses come off the track, they know only one thing. They may be stiff, they may have injuries, they may have post-traumatic stress disorder from their days of the track, which are very, highly competitive, highly adrenaline pumping, highly anti-instinctual. These are social and nomadic animals, and to have them sequestered in a stall is very anti-instinctual, even though they've been bred for hundreds of years that way. So I thought, well, what do they need? And having been a lifelong horsewoman, I just said, well, I do what I do with my own horses, which when I get a new horse, I give it the time, and I look at where its body's hurting, and then I look at how it thinks and processes information, and then I build a partnership, and then I present a curriculum. And so thoroughbreds are so clever that you can, provided they don't have long-term injuries, you can make a huge difference in 90 days. And then the final piece was to find the right match. So not to adopt them over the internet, but to have people come and ride them and make sure that the fit was good.
The fit was not good when former pro football player Jeff Tau Arnett made a road trip here from Minnesota with his mind set on taking home a former Kentucky Derby runner.
That's it. Looks like that.
There's number 18, Nowhere to Hide.
Nowhere to Hide went off at 45-1 and ran 17th in the 2009 race, the one that featured Calvin Burrell's rail riding victory on 50-1 shot, Mind That Bird.
And Papa Clem's right there too, down toward the inside, coming on through. That is Mind That Bird now is coming on to take the lead as they come down to the finish, and a spectacular upset.
After 4 years in the claiming ranks and a series of injuries, Nowhere to Hide was gifted to the Secretariat Center.
His owners went back to find that horse when it got claimed, and they claimed it back, and then came to us and said, will you take care of this horse? That's a beautiful story, and that's not a unique story. There are many good things happening in the world of aftercare right now, and I'm proud of that.
Once I watched the videos, I was like, how they were describing him in terms of some of the injuries he had, his personality. I was like, that describes me to an absolute T. This horse and I, we got the same personality, we're on the same wavelength. So I was all excited. We were going down to Kentucky for the first time to go pick up a horse.
His girlfriend had adopted a horse from us, and he wanted to ride horses with his girlfriend. He had probably ridden a few horses on pony rides as a kid, and he just wanted to be a pleasure rider.
She loves to tell people that I had no idea what I was doing riding, which is probably 100% true. I'd only been in the English saddle probably 2 or 3 times, and here I wanted a fresh off the track thoroughbred that was pretty hot.
Sure, it would have been easier in my pocketbook to move the horse quickly. I had made a promise to the owners, who had worked really hard to go back and find the horse, that I would take care of the horse right down to finding the right home for it. And the horse wasn't ready for an amateur owner, especially not one that weighed too much. He had to lose 50 pounds too. You do not want to put a 240-pound ex-NFL player who doesn't know how to ride on a horse that only has 2 gears. Whoa and go.
Undaunted, Tau Arnett lost the weight, learned to ride, and became the perfect fit for the horse known as Noah.
It's drastically changed my life. I mean, if you'd asked me 4 years ago if I'd be standing here, I'd have told you you're absolutely nuts. If you'd have told me that I would have went from 1 horse to now having 23 horses, I'd have told you there's no possible way. But it's, Noah was the one that kind of literally flipped my life upside down.
This horse, whose name is Some Kind of Wonderful, I think he'll be changing lives too.
Some Kind of Wonderful is a gelded 2016 colt by Scat Daddy out of an Unbridled Song mare. But despite being a half-brother to Triple Crown winner Justify, he showed no interest in competing on the racetrack. It happens. Big Brown gelding All the Leaves Are Brown raced 43 times in 5 years. He won 6 and earned nearly $80,000. 7-year-olds are elder statesmen on the racetrack. In his new career, thanks to the Secretariat Center, he'll be young again and changing lives like the rest of his well-bred barn mates.
The corn tops ripe and the meadows in the blue.
275 miles north.
Hey!
Retired veterinarian Dr. George Sikora co-owns and manages Mapleton Farm, one of Ohio's top thoroughbred racehorse producers.
And,
His newest broodmare is My Girl Friday.
I'll take it back 3 years. She won over 100,000. She got an injury. We rather than making her run anymore, I says, you know what? She earned her keep. She's going to be a broodmare and be a mama out in the grass. So we got her bred, and she's going to go ahead and have her first foal next year.
So she's one of the lucky ones that is well bred enough to stick around and have babies. And
yeah, we think she is. I mean, if her babies can run like she did, she'd love to run. I mean, she was one that just loves to run, and she didn't want anybody passing her.
Spring fills the air with promise here. The mares are with their foals, all happy and healthy and finding their legs, all bred for success in a state now offering generous purses for Ohio-bred races.
Most people and most young athletes can run, but only the elite, right, can win the race. So in this business, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a unique equine athlete that can win. If they can't win, then they need to go on and do something else with their life.
But Sikora has no illusions about the game being a gamble. Some horses get hurt. Some just don't live up to expectations. Still, he's an owner with a conscience. He considers finding second careers for his retired racehorses an obligation.
We had a horse by the name of Wisdom of the Duke. He ran very successfully as a 4-year-old. He had 12 starts. He bowed attendant. He made $60,000. He deserved a better. We weren't going to bring him back and take a chance of him really injuring that tendon. So he's now in Virginia, and they love him down there. He's going to be a jumper. The one was a 4-year-old filly that, as a yearling, I wouldn't have sold her for $25,000. We tried her 2 years in a row. She was just not mentally made to be a racehorse. She's really mentally made to be some young girl's pet.
While Mapleton Farm broodmare, the Lady Waffles, tends to her foal, her 3-year-old daughter, Waffles or Pancakes, prepares to race at Mahoning Valley, a small track near Youngstown. So far, she's 0 for 7 sprinting in the Ohio-bred straight maiden ranks. Today, she'll be tested at a mile.
And they're off. Ben Calder, Copper Trail, Spitz Image, and Waffles or Pancakes, those 4 across the track to the front.
The bettors made her 6 to 5, but her connections knew she was a long shot. Her father, Mapleton stallion Cowtown Cat, is strictly a sprint sire. Waffles or Pancakes faded at the quarter pole.
You see what happened after 6 furlongs.
But Sikora is confident that a cutback in distance in her next race will send Waffles or Pancakes to the winner's circle. Probably at Thistledown near Cleveland, a racetrack that doesn't even pretend to care about its image anymore, where you can count the people on the apron who aren't owners, trainers, or barn workers on one hand most days, where the simulcast area is a second home to about a dozen regulars who bet $1 exactas and trifectas, and a few people who mistakenly thought the second floor of the Jack Casino had slot machines too. There may not be another racetrack in the United States where more thoroughbreds run their final races than at Mountaineer in Chester, West Virginia.
We're kind of the last stop here.
75-year-old Burton Sipp started training thoroughbreds in New York in 1968. His career has taken him to tracks in at least 7 states. He's had nearly 23,000 starters, and he owns most of the horses he trains.
We always have horses that are sound, good-looking, and they just can't run fast anymore. And the ideal thing is if you can find a home, that's the greatest thing in the world for them.
Sipp's career is checkered, to say the least. He's been stripped of his training license in New Jersey, banned from tracks in Pennsylvania, suspended in Ohio. In the 1980s, the New York Daily News reported that Sipp's training record was believed to contain more violations than that of any other trainer in history. The horse he saddles on April 29, 2019 is Hey Funny, a 6-year-old mare with just 2 wins from 36 starts and earnings of $47,000, all in low-level claimers. She's had 3 slow works since her last race in December, and she walks onto the track at 47 to 1. On paper, Hey Funny doesn't have a prayer, but races aren't run on paper, and Mountaineer isn't exactly known for formful finishing. Hey Funny trails early but gets going late and passes enough tired rivals to run third at final odds of 80 to 1. She earns an unexpected $690 for SIP, earning her keep and maybe a ticket to a better life someday.
I remembered at Thistle Downs, I sold a horse for $2,500 and you end up being a grand champion in Europe as a jumper.
All in.
The true measure of owners can't be about winning and losing. Those things are all about timing and money and training and luck. Whether it's at Thistledown or Churchill Downs, horses that run fast and earn money are always pampered and protected, for as long as they do. No, the true measure of owners must be about what happens to their horses when they can't run fast and earn money.
Oh my God, we've been so rewarded by people who love horses, or like that gentleman, Jeff, who came back and he's gotten 6 more horses from us. And we have lots of repeat business. But funding is so very hard. And, you know, I struggle all the time with that. And but I keep filling out Publishers Clearinghouse and buying Powerball tickets.
In 2018, the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance had 70 accredited members and raised enough money in donations to provide them with $3,043,000 in grants. Split evenly, that's about $43,000 each. Helpful, but a small fraction of what's needed.
I still have to raise money for salaries and rent and insurance and sewage and all those glamorous things that nobody wants to support.
Glamorous is an adjective the racing industry embraces wholeheartedly, but there are others it doesn't. Like heartless, ruthless, and dangerous. Race 4 at Thistledown, May 21st, 2019, is for top-level maiden fillies or mares. Waffles or Pancakes is not entered, but a 4-year-old named Soroa is. She breaks from the 2-hole and is outrun early, no surprise. She has finished no closer than 12 lengths from the winner in her 4 previous starts, all at the $5,000 claiming level, the bottom of the barrel. This is a class jump that makes no sense to a handicapper. Her jockey in the orange silks is Alfredo Clemente, who hasn't had a mount in nearly a month, and that was one of just 18 all year, all at Tampa Bay. At the top of the stretch, Soroa breaks down. Clemente tumbles to the track and scrambles under the rail as his mount writhes in pain. The jockey would survive, the horse would not. No glamour here. And no glamour back at the Secretariat Center, for that matter, just hard work and the best of intentions for thoroughbreds who've been lucky enough to find this fork in the road.